Ambassador Daesung sat in the human delegation section and watched the other species argue about humanity's future. He had been doing this job for 40 years now. His hair had turned gray in these halls. His back hurt from sitting in chairs designed for aliens, but he always came back, always tried to make them understand. The Grand Convergence Hall was massive. It had to be. 47 different species needed space, and they all looked different. Some floated. Some crawled. Some needed water tanks. The mantis-like Chancellor Voth stood at the center podium, his forearms gesturing as he spoke. "The motion is simple," Voth said, his voice clicking through the translator. "Humanity will become observers. They will watch and advise, but no longer vote on council matters." Daesung felt Captain Hana shift beside him. She commanded the human security fleet that protected this entire sector of space. Her jaw was tight. On his other side, Jiwan the engineer was typing notes on his datapad. Jiwan kept every station and power grid running in council space. Neither of them spoke. They had learned, like Daesung, that interrupting only made things worse. "The humans have contributed," said Overseer Quiln, a being made of living crystal who managed council finances. "But their technology is basic. Their military is adequate at best. Many species can do what they do." Daesung wanted to laugh, but he was too tired. Adequate at best. The human fleet had stopped 4 wars in the last decade alone. Human engineers maintained 70% of the automated systems the council bragged about. Human doctors treated patients from 19 different species. But sure, adequate at best. "I object to this motion," said Councillor Nex, one of the bird-like species from the Outer Rim. "The humans have served with distinction. This seems unnecessary." "Your objection is noted," Voth said in a tone that meant it was ignored. "We vote now. All in favor of reducing human status to observers?" 32 arms, tentacles, and appendages rose into the air. The holographic display showed the count. 32 yes, 12 no, 3 abstained. It was done. Voth continued without pausing. "Next matter. The Orion Nebula territories. These have been under human protection for 200 years. We reassign them to the Vrex Dominion, effective immediately." Now Hana did speak. "Chancellor, those territories have complex security needs. Our fleet knows every asteroid, every trade route, every—" "The Vrex Dominion is more than capable," Voth interrupted. "Your fleet is adequate, Captain. But the Rex are a warrior species. They are better suited to the task." Daesung put a hand on Hana's arm. She was about to say something that would make things worse. He could see it in her eyes. The Vrex were warriors, yes. They were also brutal, and had no patience for the diplomatic work that keeping peace actually required. But Voth would not listen. The session continued for another hour. Every human proposal was rejected. Every human concern was dismissed. When Daesung asked about the medical exchange program that had saved millions of lives, Quiln said other species could manage it. When Jiwan mentioned the maintenance schedules for critical systems, Voth said the council had plenty of engineers. Finally, Daesung stood. "Chancellor, the human delegation requests a recess." Voth's compound eyes glittered with what might have been amusement. "Of course, Ambassador." 1 hour, the 3 humans walked out of the hall together. They did not speak until they reached the human embassy wing, 3 corridors away. The embassy was small. Humans did not need much space. They were efficient that way. Inside the conference room, Hana exploded. "Adequate, adequate. We have kept this sector safe for 200 years. We have stopped wars they do not even know about because we stopped them before they started." Jiwan was calmer, but his hands shook as he pulled up files on the display screen. "Look at this. Look at all of this. I maintain the power grids for 40 worlds. I trained the teams that run the water systems. I designed the backup protocols for life support, and they think anyone can just do this." Daesung sat down heavily. He felt every one of his 70 years. "They think we are replaceable. So what do we do?" Hana asked. "We just accept this?" Daesung looked at both of them. He thought about 40 years of service, 40 years of being dismissed, 40 years of doing the essential work while being told it was not important. He thought about the young diplomats back on Earth who wanted this job. He thought about the engineers who worked triple shifts to keep alien worlds running. He thought about the doctors who had missed their own children's birthdays to save alien lives. "We leave," he said quietly. Hana and Jiwan stared at him. "We leave," Daesung repeated. We tell them we are withdrawing from the council. 30 days notice as protocol requires. Then we go home. They will panic, Jiwon said. No, Daesung shook his head. They will laugh. They think we are replaceable, remember? Let them replace us. Hana started to smile. It was not a kind smile. We do not sabotage anything. We do not break anything. We just stop maintaining it. Exactly, Daesung said. We do our jobs perfectly for 30 more days. We document everything. We offer to train replacements if they want. And then we leave quietly. Earth Command will need to approve this, Jiwon said. Send the request, Daesung replied. Mark it urgent. The response came back in 20 minutes. Earth Command had been waiting for this day for years. They approved immediately. The message was short. Come home. All of you. Bring everyone. When the recess ended, Daesung walked back into the Grand Convergence Hall. Voth was already speaking about the next item on the agenda. Daesung waited for a pause, then stood. Chancellor, I have an announcement. Voth looked annoyed at the interruption. Yes, Ambassador. Humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. Effective in 30 days, all human personnel will return to human space. All treaties are void. All protection agreements are terminated. All trade contracts will be fulfilled to their current terms, then discontinued. The hall went silent. Then someone laughed. Then others joined in. Voth's mandibles clicked in what passed for a chuckle among his species. You are upset about the vote, Voth said. We understand. But let us not be dramatic. This is not drama, Daesung said calmly. This is notice as required by Council protocol. 30 days. We will provide documentation of all systems we currently maintain, should you wish to assign them to others. You will be back, Quiln said. Where else will humanity go? Daesung looked at the crystalline being. Home, we will go home, he sat down. Beside him, Hana was already sending coded messages to the fleet. Jiwon was compiling lists of every system, every station, every backup protocol that had a human maintaining it. The council returned to its agenda. They were not worried. Humans were adequate at best, after all. Replaceable. Simple. In 30 days, they would learn different. Commander Minho stood on the bridge of the transport ship and watched the countdown. 29 days, 18 hours and 14 minutes since Ambassador Daesung made the announcement. Minho was in charge of getting every human out of council space. It was the biggest logistics operation in human history. Status. Report, he said to his crew. Sector 7 complete, replied Lieutenant Borum. All medical staff extracted. From the Quilner hospital stations. Dr. Yuna's team was the last to leave. Minho nodded. Dr. Yuna ran the trauma centers that treated patients from 19 different species. She had trained under 3 different alien biologies just to do her job properly. Her team had saved thousands of lives. When she told the hospital administrator she was leaving, they had laughed. You will be back in a month, the administrator had said. Who else knows Quilnar physiology like you do? Dr. Yuna had smiled politely. I trained Dr. Shex on your staff for 2 years. He knows the basics. Good luck. The administrator stopped laughing when he realized Dr. Shex only knew the basics because that was all he had bothered to learn. Dr. Yuna knew advanced procedures. She knew the experimental treatments. She knew what to do when 3 different medical emergencies happened at once. Dr. Shex knew how to handle a quiet Tuesday afternoon. Minho pulled up the next sector report. Engineer Jiwon was supervising the withdrawal from the power stations. This was delicate work. Humans could not just shut everything down. That would kill millions. So they did their jobs perfectly, right up until the moment they left. Jiwon took command, the engineer's voice came through. Station 47 transition complete. Local team has full documentation. I have explained the maintenance schedule 3 times. They say they understand, do they? Minho asked. There was a pause. No, but I have done all I can do. They will learn or they will not. That was the pattern everywhere. Human teachers withdrew from schools where they had taught alien children to speak multiple languages. The school said they would hire other teachers. Human translators left diplomatic posts where they had handled 12 languages each. The council said translation software would be enough. Human security teams abandoned patrol routes they had flown for decades. The Vrex Dominion said they would cover it. On Council Prime, Administrator Boren was starting to worry. Boren was one of the amphibious species, practical and detail-oriented. He had worked with humans for 20 years. He knew what they did even if the council did not. How many humans are left on Council Prime? He asked his assistant, checking. 42,000 at last count. Down from 300,000. Boren felt his gills flutter with anxiety. What positions are they leaving? The assistant pulled up a list. Infrastructure maintenance, medical staff, educational facilities, translation services, security coordination, trade logistics, agricultural consultation, and the assistant trailed off. And what? And apparently they were maintaining the power grid backup systems. All of them. Across 40 worlds, Boren dove into his water tank to think. This was bad. This was very bad. He swam to his communication console and requested an urgent meeting with Chancellor Voth. The request was denied. Voth was too busy celebrating humanity's departure. In the Orion Nebula, Admiral Crotha of the Vrex Dominion was learning a difficult lesson. The Vrex were warriors. They were strong and brave and feared nothing. What they were not was patient. Admiral, we have located the pirate base, his tactical officer reported. Excellent. Attack formation. We will crush them. The Vrex fleet moved in. They were powerful ships with heavy weapons. They surrounded the asteroid base where the pirates were hiding. They fired. The base exploded. Victory! Crotha roared. Then 17 pirate ships came out of hiding spots the Vrex had not known existed. They hit the Vrex fleet from 6 different angles. In 20 minutes, the Vrex lost 9 ships and 400 warriors. The pirates escaped. Crotha was furious. How did the humans stop this? How did they keep these sectors clear? His intelligence officer pulled up the old human patrol records. Sir, the humans did not attack pirate bases. They monitored them. They knew every pirate ship, every captain, every route. They intercepted them in small groups. They arrested rather than killed. They used informants and intelligence networks built over decades. That is not warfare. Crotha spat. That is. What is the human word? Police work, sir. Crotha suddenly understood why the humans had been so effective, and why the Vrex were not. Back on the transport ships, the evacuation continued. Commander Minho tracked every human, every family, every child. 47 million humans lived in Council space. Some had been born here. Some had never seen Earth, but all of them were coming home. Commander, we have a problem, Lieutenant Borum said. The Telleran colony is refusing to let our people leave. Explain. They say the human engineers are too important. They have locked down the spaceport. Minho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Send a message to the Telleran government. If our people are not released in 1 hour, we will inform the council that the Tellerans are holding human citizens against their will. Then we will send the fleet. Sir, we are not supposed to use force. We will not need to. The Tellerans will panic at the thought of bad publicity. They care very much about their reputation. 53 minutes later, the human engineers were released with apologies. On Council Prime, Counselor Nex was reading reports and feeling sick. Nex had tried to warn the council, but no one had listened. Now the reports were coming in, and they were not good. Communication relays were starting to fail, just small glitches at first. A delay here, a dropped connection there. Nothing major. But the human technicians who used to fix these problems immediately were gone. Medical facilities were reporting supply shortages. The human logistics networks that had kept medicines and equipment flowing to 47 different worlds were shut down. Other species were trying to recreate the networks, but they did not understand the complexity. Humans had not just moved supplies. They had tracked usage patterns, predicted needs, rerouted shipments based on emergencies, and maintained backups for the backups. The universal translator protocols were glitching. Humans had maintained 89% of the language databases. They had been the ones who caught errors, updated slang, and made sure new words were added. Without them, species were starting to misunderstand each other in small but important ways. Nex tried again to get a meeting with Voth. This time it was granted. Chancellor, we have a serious problem developing. The humans will be back, Voth said dismissively. They are just angry. Where else can they go? They have 40 colonies of their own. They have trade partners who are not part of the council. They do not need us, Chancellor. We need them. Nonsense. They are adequate at best, remember? Others can do their jobs. Next showed Voth the reports. The communication failures. The supply shortages. The translator glitches. Voth waved his forearms irritably. These are minor problems, adjustments. Every change has an adjustment period. Chancellor, this is day 28. The humans leave in 48 hours. These problems will get worse, not better. Then we will handle them. We are the Galactic Council. We have survived for 10,000 years. We will survive without humanity. Nex left the office feeling hopeless. The Council was about to learn a very expensive lesson. On day 30, exactly at the appointed hour, the last human transport lifted off from Council Prime. Commander Minho watched from the flagship as the fleet formed up. 47 million humans going home. Engineer Jiwan stood beside him looking at the scanners. I left them complete documentation. Every system, every backup, every maintenance schedule. Will they use it? Minho asked. Some will try. Most will think they already know better. Dr. Yuna joined them at the viewport. The hospital tried to hire me back at triple salary. In the last hour, what did you say? I said the offer should have come 30 days ago. The fleet jumped to faster-than-light travel. Council space fell behind them. Ahead was human space and home. Behind them on Council Prime, the lights flickered for the first time in 200 years. It lasted only a second. Most people did not even notice. Administrator Boren noticed. He dove deep into his water tank and started praying to gods he did not believe in. 2 weeks after the humans left, Administrator Boren woke up to 17 emergency messages. His water tank's communication system was flashing red. That had never happened before. The first message was from Outpost Kalar, a mining colony in the Outer Rim. Communication relay down. Cannot contact trade partners. Requesting repair team. The second message was similar. Then the third. Then the fourth. By message 17, Boren understood the problem. The communication network was failing piece by piece. He sent repair teams to every location. They came back confused. The relays are working, the lead technician reported, but there are subroutines we do not understand. The human documentation mentions them, but it is very complex. How complex? Boren asked. The technician showed him. The relay systems had 17 layers of backup protocols, each one designed to kick in if the previous one failed. The humans had built redundancy into redundancy into redundancy. It was brilliant engineering. It was also impossible to understand without training. The humans who maintained this, the technician said slowly. They trained for years to understand it. We have had 2 weeks. Boren sent an urgent report to Chancellor Voth. The reply came back quickly. Hire more technicians. Offer higher pay. The problem will solve itself. It did not solve itself. In the Orion Nebula, Admiral Crotha was having a worse time. The pirates were getting bolder. They knew the Vrex patrol patterns now. They knew the Vrex always attacked directly. They used this knowledge. Another convoy attacked, his tactical officer reported. 12 ships taken, 30 dead. How many ships do we have left in this sector? Crotha demanded. 67 operational. We started with 130. Crotha slammed his fist on the console. In 3 months, the Vrex had lost nearly half their fleet. The humans had patrolled these same sectors for 200 years and rarely lost a ship. How he pulled up every report the humans had filed. There were thousands of them. They documented every pirate gang, every hideout, every tactic. They had informant networks. They had trading relationships with neutral parties who gave them information. They had decades of institutional knowledge about this sector. The Vrex had strength. The humans had knowledge. Crotha was beginning to understand which was more valuable. On Council Prime, the power flickered again. This time it lasted for 5 seconds. People noticed a technician, Quilks, was called to investigate. Quilks was a good engineer, one of the best non-human technicians on Council Prime. He went to the main power distribution center and started examining the systems. What he found terrified him. The power grid was not one system. It was 10,000 interconnected systems. Each one had been designed by humans, maintained by humans, and updated by humans over 200 years. The documentation was complete, but it was vast. Quilks would need 10 years just to read it all. He found notes written by Engineer Jiwan. They were helpful notes explaining complex concepts in simple terms. But even simple terms were not simple enough when dealing with systems this complex. We need the humans back, Quilks told Administrator Boren. Chancellor Voth says we do not. Then Chancellor Voth is wrong. Boren agreed, but could do nothing. He was just an administrator. He had no power to change council policy. On the medical world of Quilnar, the hospital was in crisis. 3 different species had a virus outbreak. It was not deadly, but it was spreading fast. Dr. Shex, who Dr. Yuna had trained, tried his best. He followed the procedures he had been taught. The virus kept spreading. He pulled up Dr. Yuna's notes. She had written, "For multi-species viral outbreaks, check for cross-species transmission vectors. Different species shed virus differently. Isolate by biology, not by symptoms." Dr. Shex did not understand. He isolated by symptoms because that made sense to him. The virus spread faster. 4,000 people got sick. 30 died. Dr. Yuna could have stopped it in a week. Dr. Shex took 6 weeks and only stopped it because the virus eventually ran out of new hosts to infect. The hospital administrator, the same one who had laughed when Dr. Yuna left, sent a message to human space. "We need Dr. Yuna back. Name your price." The reply was polite but firm. "Dr. Yuna is training new doctors in human space. She is not available." By week 8, Counselor Nex had compiled a report. It was 300 pages long. It documented every system failure, every crisis, every problem that had developed since the humans left. The report had a simple conclusion. "We are in serious trouble." Nex presented the report to the full council. Chancellor Voth read it and dismissed it. "These are temporary problems. We are adapting, Chancellor. We are not adapting fast enough. 43 worlds have declared states of emergency. The communication network is failing. Medical crises are getting worse. Our security in former human territories has collapsed. Trade is down 60% because nobody trusts the shipping lanes anymore, and our currency is crashing because the humans were managing the economic stabilization protocols." "The humans were managing our currency?" Another counselor asked, shocked. Nex nodded. "They were managing many things we did not know about. That is the problem. They did their work so well that it was invisible. We thought the systems ran themselves. The systems did not run themselves. The humans ran them. Then we hire new humans," Voth said. "The humans are not interested in being hired. I have sent 17 diplomatic messages. They respond politely and say no. On week 10, 3 colony worlds lost life support redundancies. Nobody died because the main system still worked. But if the main systems failed, the backups would not kick in. The backups had always been maintained by human engineers who checked them every week and fixed small problems before they became big problems. Now there was nobody checking them." Administrator. "Boren sent repair teams. The teams discovered that the backup systems were incredibly sophisticated. They also discovered that the humans had left detailed notes. But the notes assumed the reader knew basic concepts that apparently only humans knew. One note read, 'Remember to cross-check the atmospheric processors with the biological load data. If the load changes, adjust the processor timing.' What is biological load data?" the technician asked. Nobody knew. By week 12, the agricultural world of Thelmar was in crisis. The irrigation systems were failing. These were human-designed systems, built to handle 5 different crop types with different water needs. The local farmers had always just turned them on and they worked perfectly. Now they did not work. Water flooded some fields and left others dry. Crops died. The farmers pulled up the human manuals and tried to fix the problems. The manuals were clear and well-written. They were also written for people who understood hydraulic engineering. The farmers did not understand hydraulic engineering. Thelmar sent an emergency message to the council. "We need human agricultural engineers. We will lose this year's harvest without them." The council sent non-human engineers. They tried their best. They managed to save 60% of the crops. 40% was lost. Thelmar had never lost more than 5% before. Food prices across council space increased by 30%. In the Outer Rim, 4 species quietly withdrew from the council. They sent diplomatic messages saying they were pursuing independent economic development. What they really meant was they were negotiating directly with humanity. The human government was accepting trade agreements, but only bilateral ones, not through the council. Each species had to negotiate separately, and humans were offering good deals to species that treated them with respect. Chancellor Voth called an emergency session. "We must stop this. The humans are trying to break apart the council." "The humans are accepting trade offers," Counselor Nex replied. "They are not making threats. They are not demanding anything. They are simply saying yes to species who want to trade with them. That is the same thing." "No, Chancellor, it is not." That night, the power on Council Prime failed completely for 3 hours. Riots broke out in the lower districts. People were scared. The power had never failed before. Not in 200 years. Administrator Boren worked through the night coordinating the emergency response. When the power came back on, he sat in his water tank and made a decision. He sent a message to human space, not an official council message. A personal one, to Engineer Jiwan. I am sorry. We were wrong. We need help, please. The response came 12 hours later. Administrator Boren, I remember you. You were always fair to my team. The council must make an official request. I cannot help until they do, but I hope they ask soon. Jiwan. Boren took the message to Chancellor Voth. Voth read it and crumpled it. We will not beg. Then we will collapse, Boren said quietly. 2 days later, the medical crisis on Quilner spread to 3 more worlds. The Vrex Dominion lost another 30 ships in the Orion Nebula and announced they were abandoning the sector. Pirates took control, and Councillor Nex called for a vote of no confidence in Chancellor Voth's leadership. The vote took 3 hours. When it was done, Chancellor Voth was removed from power. He left the Grand Convergence Hall with his head down, mandibles clicking in what might have been shame or anger. Nobody could tell. Councillor Nex became the new chancellor. Her first act was to open emergency communications with humanity. The human government responded with a simple message. Message received. Formal response in 30 days. 30 days. The same time humanity had given the council before leaving. Nex understood the message. Humanity was not going to rush. They would respond on their own schedule. Those 30 days were the worst in council history. On day 3 of the 30, 12 worlds declared states of emergency. They needed help with infrastructure, medical care, or security. The council tried to send help. The help could not get there because the logistics networks were broken. Before, humans would have coordinated everything. They would have known which ships were available, which routes were safe, which supplies were needed. They would have had backup plans for the backup plans. Now, Administrator Boren was trying to coordinate relief efforts with outdated systems and incomplete information. Ships went to the wrong places. Supplies arrived too late. 3 worlds did not get help at all because their emergency messages got lost in the failing communication network. How did the humans do this? Boren asked himself every night. How did they make it look so easy? On day 7, the Galactic credit crashed. It lost 60% of its value in a single day. Merchant Talon, a trader who had worked council routes for 40 years, watched his savings disappear. What happened? He asked his financial advisor. The stabilization protocols failed. The currency needs constant tiny adjustments to maintain value across 47 different economies. The humans were doing this. I thought it was automated. It was automated because humans wrote the automation and monitored it constantly. They made thousands of small decisions every day. Without them, the system is breaking. Talon sat in his ship and thought about every human trader he had known. They had always been fair. They had always been reliable. He had taken them for granted because they were always just there. Now they were not there. And he understood what he had lost. On day 9, Admiral Crotha of the Virex Dominion sent a formal message to the council. We are withdrawing from the Orion Nebula. We have lost 200 ships. The sector is too dangerous. The pirates have won. The council was shocked. The Vrex were legendary warriors. They had never admitted defeat before. Crotha's report was brutally honest. The humans did not control these sectors through force. They controlled them through knowledge, patience, and relationships built over generations. We have force. We do not have the rest. We cannot do what they did. Nobody can. Captain Soman, commanding a human border patrol ship, read the reports coming out of council space with cold satisfaction. She had patrolled the Orion Nebula for 15 years. She knew every pirate captain by name. Some of them were dangerous. Some were just trying to survive. The humans had known the difference. The Vrex had treated everyone as an enemy. They had made enemies out of people who could have been neutral, and turned dangerous pirates into desperate ones. Now the sector was in chaos. Should we help? Her first officer asked. No, Soman said. They need to learn. And they need to ask. On day 14, a major plague broke out on the industrial world of Corbex. It was a bacterial infection. Not hard to treat if caught early. But the early warning systems had failed. By the time anyone noticed, 50,000 people were infected. The council sent medical teams. The teams were competent, but they did not have the coordination that human medical responders would have provided. They did not have Dr. Yuna's protocols for multi-species disease control. They did not have the supply chains that would have gotten medicine there in hours instead of days. 5,000 people died. Dr. Yuna, working in a human hospital halfway across the galaxy, read the reports and cried. She could have saved most of them. On day 17, the power on Council Prime failed again. This time for 18 hours. The riots were worse. 3 people died. Hundreds were injured. Technician Quilks worked desperately to restore power. He was reading Engineer Jiwan's notes, trying to understand the system. He found a note that said, "If main power fails, do not restore too quickly. Bring systems online in sequence or you will overload the grid." Sequence attached. Quilks found the sequence. It was 40 pages long. Each step had to be done in exact order, with specific timing. He did his best. He got the power back on, but he knew he had done it wrong. The grid was unstable now. "I need help," he told Administrator Boren. "I am a good engineer, but this is beyond me. This is beyond anyone I know. The humans built something that only they can maintain." On day 23, Counselor Nex received a report that made her blood run cold. The report documented every diplomatic incident that humans had quietly prevented over the last 20 years. Small disputes that could have become wars. Misunderstandings between species that could have destroyed alliances. Economic conflicts that could have crashed entire sectors. The humans had been doing backdoor diplomacy, meeting with representatives privately, finding compromises, solving problems before they became public crises. Nobody had known. The humans had never asked for credit. They had just done it because it needed to be done. Now those problems were coming back. Old disputes were flaring up. Species were misunderstanding each other because the human translators who really understood nuance were gone. Small economic conflicts were growing because there was nobody to mediate. "We thought we were the diplomats," Nex said to Administrator Boren. But the humans were doing the real diplomatic work where nobody could see it. On day 28, 4 more species withdrew from the council. They sent polite messages about pursuing their own interests. Everyone knew they were making deals with humanity. The council was breaking apart. On day 30, the human government sent its response. Ambassador Tajan arrived on Council Prime with a delegation. He was younger than Ambassador Daesung, maybe 40 years old. He was also harder, less patient. The humans were done being diplomatic. "We have reviewed the council's situation," Taijun said in the emergency session. "We are willing to discuss returning. Here are our terms." He displayed them on the main screen. Every counselor read in silence equal voting rights. 20% of all council decisions required human approval. Full veto authority on any matter affecting human interests. Reparations for the colonies that had been reassigned. Human autonomy over all human operations within council space. "These terms are outrageous," one counselor shouted. "These terms are our starting position," Tajan replied calmly. "You may negotiate, but understand this. We do not need you. You need us. We have 40 colonies. We have trade agreements with species outside your council. We have been developing new technologies while you have been collapsing. We are doing fine. You would let us collapse?" Chancellor Nex asked. "We did not cause your collapse. You caused it when you decided we were not important. We are simply allowing you to experience the consequences of your decision." The session ended in chaos. Half the counselors wanted to accept human terms immediately. The other half wanted to refuse out of pride. While they argued, another crisis hit. In the Outer Rim, a navigation beacon network failed completely. 17 ships were lost in a single day because they could not navigate through an asteroid field that had been perfectly safe when humans maintained the beacons. The council called an emergency vote. They voted to accept human terms. But before they could send the acceptance, Admiral Hana arrived with the human fleet. Not to attack. "To demonstrate, we have a pirate problem in the Corval sector," Hana announced. "We heard the council has been unable to address it. We will solve it as a gesture of goodwill." Her fleet moved into the sector. Within 4 hours, they had cleared out a pirate nest that the council had been unable to touch for 6 months. No massive battles. No dramatic fights. Just efficient, precise military operations backed by perfect intelligence and decades of experience. The pirates surrendered or fled. The sector was secure. "That is how it is done," Hana said simply. On Council Prime, human medical ships arrived at the plague worlds. Dr. Yuna came with them. She set up quarantine protocols, organized treatment, trained local doctors. In 2 weeks, the plague was contained and stopped. Human engineers began arriving at critical infrastructure points. Not to take over, to train. Engineer G1 came to Council Prime and started working with technician Quilks. "I will teach you," G1 said. "But it will take time, years. These systems are complex. Are you ready to learn?" "Yes," Quilks said. "Please, teach me." Merchant Talon saw human trade ships returning to Council space. They were not asking permission. They were negotiating directly with individual worlds. Fair deals. Reliable service. Everything the Council used to have and had lost. Ambassador Tajin met with Chancellor Nex privately. "Your people are returning anyway," Nex said. "Why do you need the Council's acceptance?" "Because this time you need to acknowledge our value. You need to say it publicly. You need to make sure this never happens again. You are punishing us. No, we are teaching you. There is a difference." The negotiations took 3 months. Ambassador Tajin sat across from Chancellor Nex every day, working through the details. He was patient but firm. Every time the Council tried to reduce human demands, he would simply pull up reports of new crises developing across Council space. "The Telleran colony lost water purification yesterday," he would say. 15,000 people are drinking unsafe water. Or we could discuss the communication blackout affecting the Outer Rim. Or perhaps the fact that your currency is now worth half what it was 4 months ago. The message was clear. The Council needed humanity more than humanity needed the Council. President Yunji, the leader of the human government, sent additional instructions to Taejun. "Do not be cruel, but do not be soft. They need to understand, really understand." On the 87th day of negotiations, the Council agreed to everything. Every human demand was met, plus additional concessions that Nex offered to show good faith. "We were wrong," Nex said publicly in the Grand Convergence Hall. "We undervalued humanity's contributions. We dismissed their importance. We were arrogant and foolish. We are sorry." It was the first time in Council history that a chancellor had apologized to another species. Ambassador Dae Sung, now retired and living on Earth, watched the broadcast with a small smile. He had spent 40 years trying to make them understand. They had learned in 4 months what they would not learn in 40 years. Sometimes you had to walk away. The new Council Constitution was ratified on day 92. It was called the Essential Contributors Protection Act. The law was simple. No species could be reduced in status without a detailed assessment of their contributions. If a species was essential to Council operations, they had protected status. Humanity was declared essential in 14 different categories, but the treaty had other clauses too. Clauses that protected other species. The Council was starting to understand that many of their members did invisible work. The small species that maintained archives. The quiet ones who managed agricultural research. The ones who did the jobs that nobody thought about until they stopped being done. "We will not make this mistake again," Nex promised. Not with humans. Not with anyone. Human personnel began returning to Council space, but slowly and carefully. They were not coming back as employees. They were coming back as advisors and trainers. Engineer G1 returned to Council Prime with a team of 20 human engineers. He met with technician Quilks and 200 other non-human engineers who wanted to learn. "This will take years," G1 warned them. "Maybe decades. These systems are complex. You will make mistakes. That is okay. We made mistakes too when we were learning. The important thing is that you learn properly." Quilks was nervous. "What if we cannot do it? What if only humans can maintain these systems?" "That is not true," G1 said firmly. "You can learn this. You are intelligent beings. The problem before was that you did not know you needed to learn it. You thought it was simple. Now you know it is complex. That is the first step." The training program began. It was hard. Many of the students struggled, but G1 and his team were patient. They explained things clearly. They answered questions. They encouraged students when they got frustrated. "When I started," G1 told them, "I spent 2 years just learning the basics. 2 years. And I still made mistakes. You are doing better than I did." It was a lie. G1 had been brilliant from the start. But the students needed encouragement, not discouragement. Dr. Yuna established a medical training center on Council Prime. She brought 30 human doctors and started teaching protocols for multi-species. Medicine, Dr. Shex was her first student. He was humble now. Scared even. I killed people, he said quietly. During the plague, I did not know what to do and people died. You did your best with the training you had, Una replied. That is all anyone can do. Now you will have better training. You will not make those mistakes again. Will you stay? Will you teach us permanently? I will stay for 5 years. In 5 years you will train others. That is how knowledge spreads. In the Orion Nebula, Captain Soman returned with a small human fleet. Admiral Krada of the Vrex Dominion met with her nervously. The Vrex had lost so many ships. They had failed so completely. I am sorry, Krotha said. We thought we could do your job. We thought strength was enough. Strength is important, Soman replied. But it is not everything. Let me show you how we kept peace here. She took Krotha on patrol. She showed him the informant networks, the relationships with local traders, the knowledge of which pirates were dangerous and which were just desperate, the patience to watch and wait instead of attacking immediately. This is not warfare, Krotha said, echoing what he had said months before. This is police work. Yes, and police work keeps more people alive than warfare does. Krotha began to understand. The Vrex could still be warriors, but they needed to learn when not to fight. That was the harder lesson. Merchant Talon started flying trade routes again. Human ships were back, and with them came reliability. The routes were safe. The schedules were kept. The prices were fair. He met with a human trader named Kyung Min in a space station bar. I took you for granted, Talon admitted. All of you. I thought you were just there. I did not realize how much work you did to make everything run smoothly. Most people do not realize, Kyungmin said. Good work is invisible. You only notice it when it stops. I will not forget again. Yes, you will, Kyungmin laughed. Everyone does. That is okay. We do not need praise. We just need respect. On Council Prime, Administrator Boren was promoted to Director of Infrastructure. It was a new position, created specifically to make sure someone was always paying attention to the systems that kept civilization running. His first act was to hire engineer Jiwon as a permanent consultant. I want you to teach me everything, Boren said. Everything you know. I want to understand these systems the way you do. That will take 20 years, Jiwon warned. Then we start today. They started with the power grid. Boren was a good student. He asked smart questions. He took detailed notes. He made mistakes but learned from them. After 6 months, he understood maybe 5% of the system. Only 5%. He asked, discouraged. 5% more than you knew before, Jiwon replied. Progress is progress. Ambassador Tajan established a permanent human embassy on Council Prime. It was larger than the old one, more prestigious. The humans now had offices in the main government district, not in the side corridors where they had been before. But Tajan did not gloat. He did not rub the council's face in their mistakes. He was professional and courteous. He was there to build a new relationship, not to punish. Chancellor Nex appreciated this. You could make us suffer more for what we did. We could, Tajan agreed. But what would be the point? We want a partner, not a victim. The council made mistakes. You admitted them. You are fixing them. That is enough. The Grand Convergence Hall had a new seating arrangement. The human delegation now sat at the head table next to the Chancellor. Their votes carried weight. Their opinions were sought on every major decision. In the first session under the new arrangement, a counselor proposed reducing the status of a small species that managed agricultural databases. They are not important, the counselor argued. Anyone could maintain databases. Tajan stood up. I would like to request a detailed assessment of this species' contributions, as required by the Essential Contributors Protection Act. The assessment was done. It turned out the small species managed not just databases, but complex analysis of crop patterns, climate data, and genetic information. They prevented famines. They had been doing it so well that nobody noticed. They stay at full status, Chancellor Nex ruled, and I apologize to their delegation for the disrespect. The lesson was learned. Again, Ambassador Dae-sung received a message from Taijun. The council wants to give you a medal for your years of service. Will you come accept it? Dae-sung thought about it. He was old now, tired. He wanted to stay home on Earth. but he also wanted to see the Grand Convergence Hall one more time. He went. The ceremony was held in the main hall. Every species was there. Chancellor Nex presented the medal personally. "You served the council for 40 years, Nex said. You did your job with excellence even when we did not appreciate it. You tried to teach us and we did not listen. We are listening now. Thank you." Daesung accepted the medal. He looked around the hall. He saw human engineers working with alien students. He saw human doctors training alien physicians. He saw human traders making fair deals. He saw respect where there had been dismissal. "You learned," he said simply. "That is all I ever wanted." That night, Daesung sat with Taejun and several other human diplomats in the embassy. "Do you think it will last?" Taejun asked. "Do you think they really learned?" "For a generation, yes," Daesung replied. "Maybe two. Then new leaders will come who did not live through the collapse. They will forget. They will take us for granted again. So this was all temporary? No, because now we know something important. We know we can walk away. And if they forget again, we will walk away again. That knowledge changes everything. We have power now. We always had power. We just did not know it. The power to do essential work is real power. We do not need weapons or threats. We just need to be essential and to know our worth.